Hey, and welcome to the Al Young Show. Now, listen, today is going to be one of those great days. Matter of fact, we're celebrating a wonderful time that we had, particularly on the 19th. We know it was Martin Luther King's birthday, but on top of that, it was also the Al Young birthday celebration going on. So we had a great time, and for all of those who were into Martin Luther King and all the great things that he did, and a good result of all the things that happened with Martin Luther King, I'd like to say thanks to President Barack Obama is part of that dream. And, well, my mother had me a lot earlier than the dream. But here we are.
You know, he just had to put himself in there. Hello, everyone. And it's good to be back. I'm today. But what Al basically was saying, it was his birthday yesterday. He just wanted everyone to know that he had a birthday. So happy birthday, Al. Moving right along.
You missed it.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right. So it's good to be back. We had a beautiful week. Cold, a little cold. I moved to Florida for a reason. I thought it would be warm out. But I had to go into the closet and pull out the scarves and gloves.
I don't understand the one thing. Listen, being in the military and being in all those different places that we go, listen, you're in Florida, and the one thing you have to look at, nobody looks at the glass half full. We always look at it half empty. Here we are in Florida. It's cold in the morning, hot in the afternoon. It may get a little chilly that evening, but we could be in Minnesota, where it's cold, and colder. So what's a big deal? I mean, let's look at the positive side. It's cold in the morning, and it's warm in the afternoon. I mean, this is the only place you can wake up and have on a jacket in the morning, and by the afternoon, you got on a short-sleeve shirt.
Okay.
Try that in Minnesota.
Well, that's why I'm not in Minnesota.
Okay, then. So,
but if I knew it was going to get this cold, I'd probably go to Arizona. Can't go to Texas because it's cold there as well.
Arizona's cold, too.
Okay. So what are we going to talk about today? Oh, tax season is coming up. We really want to remind our veterans out there, especially those that are serving overseas. The military has it where you can put your combat pay into a thrift savings plan. Did you know that, Al?
No, I didn't. This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Yes. They have a thrift savings plan, and what that does, it's like an IRA, a Roth account, and you can really save a lot more money by putting it into those, investment account rather than spending it. And
well, the thing is, if you're going to start looking at, especially guys who have been in for a while, or you're looking towards retirement, and you're looking at, we don't have a 401k program, but this is a way to start looking at saving. And then when you do get out, let's say you're going to put your 20 years in. A lot of times, and it's a known fact, people get out of the military and they're just as broke as they can be at times because they don't plan. It's like any job that you have. We get out and we're all over the place trying to figure out what we're going to do. The first thing a lot of us say, got to get a job. Well, a lot of times the military is starting to, like they've been doing on a lot of programs these days, they're looking at, hey, what do we do to start making life easier for our service members? Mm-hmm. And this is one of the things that they're starting to do. They're noticing, and they've been noticing for some time, that people are not prepared. So, the military now says, listen, we're going to start doing things to make people make their lives a lot better when they do really get out, other than just saying, here's what's being offered to you when you get out. Mm-hmm. Here's a way to prepare so when you get out, we've got it for you.
Well, I just want to read a little small little article that they have here. When you're selling a home, taxpayers, whereas civilians and military can generally sidestep paying capital gain taxes on the sales of their home. So they're trying to get more military personnel to own home and get a tax break. So that's one incentive to our military people when buying homes. They're going to give you a tax break there. Another thing that when you're moving expense, if you're in the military, moving every few years can be very expensive. But if you move, if your move is required permanent change of station, the IRS will let you deduct that reasonable expense. So that's a reimbursement.
Well, you have to start being smart about everything that you do. If you just jump up and do things and don't do any research to find out what you can save, what's available to you, then, of course, you're going to eat it. The smart person who starts looking into what's available to them and starts saying, how do I get something out of what I'm doing instead of just jumping up, moving, and then paying it out of pocket, it's hurting people.
Well, also, and for our Reserve and National Guard personnel out there, travel deduction. If you are required to travel more than 100 miles away from home to perform your reserve duty, you can deduct that fee, whatever it costs. And everybody knows the price of gas has been going up
steadily.
Up.
Yes.
So you can retain your receipt and deduct it at the end of the year. So they're trying to give us tax breaks, us military people and veterans that are traveling outside that 50-mile radius.
Well, for such a long time, people have been eating things. And just to eat it, to say, okay, yes, I served and I'm going to do this, that's not the thing. Because when you want qualified people and they feel whatever they're getting for the weekend, it's costing them just as much the money that they're getting for their reserve pay if they've got to travel so far, and at the end of it, they're only making a couple of dollars. What good is it to them?
Exactly.
I'm going to say, when I look at my check, at the end of it all, I'm going to say, well, you know what? I really didn't do anything. Yes, a lot of people are saying you should be doing it for God and country. Well, a lot of us look at God and country, and we also look at what we're bringing home for God and country, and we say, well, listen, God and country, I did my time. I'm going to get out a little early because it's not going to profit.
Well, a lot of our veterans out there might not have known that they can utilize some of these benefits that the IRS is trying to lessen our, expense somewhat. So just keep in mind, if you're traveling outside of a 100-mile radius, retain your receipts, your gas receipts. You might have to pay for meals. Retain those receipts because it is business. Yes, it's the military, but it's a business as well. So you use it as a business expense and claim that on your taxes.
Yeah, and the thing is, with a lot of people, what you need to start doing is at least make copies of everything and make sure you have a file. So in case you lose, receipts have a way of flying all over the place. So at least put them someplace where you can get them or get back to them, because we lose so many things and then we have no proof. And you never can tell when you might get audited.
Yeah.
And you need those receipts, because just saying, well, this is what I did and no proof, well, guess what? If you get audited, then you're going to be very... Please keep up with everything that you have. And even take a picture with your cell phone, because in case you lose something, if you've taken a photograph with your phone, you always got the backup.
Yeah.
So it does show something.
Another thing I want to stress to our veterans out there, and just sitting in at a conference that I attended last week or 2 weeks ago, if you have not registered on e-benefits as yet, please go on. It's a very simple process. It takes you through step by step. So we would like you to register, go on e-benefits, get familiar with the website, and see what you can and cannot. Navigate around. You need a copy of your DD-214. If you're already in the VA system, you can get your DD-214 off e-benefits. Uploading things on there. It's really a really user-friendly site, and it has helped a lot of us who, if you don't have the time to run to the VA to, get whatever it is you need from the website. So that's one thing that they're promoting.
Well, actually, we're going to try and have Goose from the VA come back down and explain that whole system to all our vets again. And we got some other people coming down from the VA to explain some things to our listeners. The one thing that you'll find out about e-benefits is there's tons of stuff that you can do prior to even going to the VA. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to take a little break, and then we'll be right back, okay? And we'll talk about some other things. Plus, we have a very exciting guest for you, and we want to get back to all of that. So we're going to take a quick break.
Keep our freedom alive. Salute the flag instead. The freedom we enjoy is held within their hands. Their life is on the line. Their family and their friends, they leave them all behind. They give with all their might. The men and women who serve our shining light. They are warriors. Na, 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 na. freedom alive. Salute the flag and stand. The freedom we enjoy is held within their hands. Their life is on the line. Their family and their friends, they leave them all behind. They give with all their might. The men and women who serve our shining light. They are warriors. Na 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 na. This is a song for the warrior. We support the men and women who strive to keep our nation strong. We honor family members who are left behind to carry on. May we never forget the prisoner of war, missing in action and killed in action. God bless our retired veterans, and God bless the USA. Through the struggle and fight to survive, they keep freedom alive. They march into foreign lands with liberty in their hands. Now thank the soldier today. Now bless the soldier today. Now thank the soldier today.
Okay, and we're back.
Yes, so just to remind our veterans out there, the tax season is coming up. We want you to take advantage of the benefits and the deductions that the IRS will allow you to claim, such as traveling outside of a certain mileage from your home to go to and from your reserve unit, moving expense, cleaning up the uniforms, and so on and so forth. Well, today on our show, we have this fine young gentleman here, a Vietnam veteran. And of course, in the military, we usually don't have, if you find a veteran that only has one job, he's unemployed. Because usually in the military, we have several jobs. But we have a Vietnam veteran here, Mr. Carl Bradfield. He's a combat humorist and columnist from Vietnam, well, for Veteran Magazine. So, Mr. Bradfield, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and what you have done.
Well, I'm not really a combat humorist so much as a combat fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was I left Fort Riley in 1965 with the 1st Infantry Division, the Blue Spaders. I wrote about that.
Mm-hmm.
And we sailed over. I was seasick the whole way, by the way. And I was glad to get off that ship. I was ready to fight the enemy if they ever, rather than go back on that. And we landed in October 65. And from there, it was we stumbled ashore. We set up a base camp at Phuc Vinh, and after we set the camp up, we started going on combat missions with the M14 rifle. That's before the
Right, I remember those bad boys.
And from then on, I can say throughout the year that I was there, I was bombed, strafed, rocketed, machine gun, ambushed, and the enemy shot at me too. Sometimes, well, that's the way it was.
Isn't that what they usually do? I tell you.
Well, you wouldn't believe. Our first 36 casualties was from our own artillery.
Mm.
Wow.
I was nearby, and believe me, those incoming artillery rounds can really shake the fillings out of your teeth. Like that. I participated in the Battle of Tan Binh, February of '66, which was the first battle of the war to have a label of the Battle of, because it was a brigade, the 1st Brigade engagement with the 273rd, it was 2,000 Viet Cong, but it was 273rd Viet Cong Battalion, part of the 9th Viet Cong Division, the Iron Triangle. Basically, I wrote a book with humor following a tragic situation, because personally I get tired of hearing about all the doom and gloom of Vietnam, because which is not to take away from what these other guys, not me, experienced.
Right.
I was never into drugs. I didn't smoke. I was a Christian when I went over, so I think that's why I survived. Of the 240 men plus that were in my platoon when we left Fort Riley, I was told at the end of that year that I was one of 3 of the original that was never wounded.
Whoa.
After the Battle of Tan Ben,
So you were really blessed.
I was blessed.
Well, he had Jesus on his side.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. After the Battle of Tan Ben, when we cleaned up all the bodies and the equipment, I was a designated one of 3 non-smokers that policed up the heroin packet because it was an enemy infantry charge. Banzai, they called it in World War II.
Right.
And, they had to psych up somehow.
Yes.
But all these little packets were strewed all over their staging area. But I had my steel pot, my helmet, and a lieutenant following me around with a 45. And the idea was all these guys would pick up the packets and bring them to my helmet and stack my helmet up. And I said to the Lieutenant Bartow, he was killed later, I said, "You're watching me, but nobody's watching the guys picking these packets up." He said, "Well, I was only told to watch you."
And these young butterballs, you can tell them anything and they'll run with it.
Well, that's kind of funny because I think the whole time I was right to the day, I was a person who never smoked, never drank, and I found out that everybody used to think that was weird. And it's just something I guess never interested me either.
Well, I can't say I didn't drink much, but over there wasn't much to drink.
Yeah. Well, I've been into, I think the heaviest thing I've ever drank has probably been root beer.
I like root beer. They did.
So, is there a lot of humor in your book? What is your?
Yeah, it's written with humor, humorous. We did laugh and joke and kid around sometimes. We had, especially even in a combat situation. I remember the first time I was personally shot at, and the heat just passed my cheek, two rounds, and we're moving forward against this hamlet, and bullets passed right by my face. I felt the heat of it. I couldn't see them, and I said, "Oh, maybe it's time for me to get down."
Yeah.
And the sergeant said, "What are you getting down now for?" The bullets are past. So, okay, move forward.
I think a lot of times there are things that go on and people find humor in things, and a lot of people feel, well, you shouldn't be making fun of certain things because we do it. And, we do it. I think it might be one way of easing the way we feel at a particular time, because we laugh at something. It doesn't mean that we're making fun of it, but it does mean it's a way of looking at a situation and taking away something that might be really painful. But then again, I think that time, and a lot of people, and I think I realized something then. It's the time like when Michael Jackson's hair caught on fire. A lot of people looked at it as, being, oh my God, that's very tragic. But then when you look at how other people looked at it, everybody had a field day making fun of it.
Oh, really?
Because it was sort of, well, gee, his hair caught on fire, and he didn't. They made a lot of jokes about it, but then it was also kind of a tragic thing that happened. But people still saw some humor in the fact that it happened, but then it was like he didn't really get that badly injured in the whole deal. Mm-hmm. So I think when those kind of things happen, we kind of ease the tension because, even though the bullet passed by you, hey, I didn't get shot. So, hey, thank God, let me go ahead and get down before something does happen.
When I was writing my book, if I didn't use humor, I would cry.
Yes.
Now the situations, I won't say a joke about, but I have humor about. I didn't have humor when it was going on.
Yeah.
It wasn't funny at the time. because we were in a lot of firefights in '65 and '66. I talk about Bong Trang, which is the biggest one that I was in, the most tragic. First time the American unit was napalm too, and I had to help clean up that mess. But we had a lot of all these small firefights like battalions and companies. That doesn't matter. They only list the big battles in Vietnam. But even a squad, 2 squads firing, that's a lot of firepower. That's a lot of shooting.
Right.
I carried when I went out fresh, when we crossed the line fresh, I had 400 rounds with me. That's after we got the Tonka toy. I'm sorry, the M16. Well, we called it the Tonka. We like to say we like the M14, but they made us change to this funny looking weapon, and we found out that the stock was made by a toy factory manufacturer. So we called it the Tonka toy. But I carried 400 rounds, more. Actually, I built up 10 hand grenades, 6 fragmentation, 2 CS, tear gas, and 2 marker grenades for it, And when I came back, I was out. Usually I was out. Also out of sea rations, but we didn't mind that.
No, but compared to what we have now, I love the old sea rations, but I won't say that too loud.
Listen, even the rats in our bunker didn't like the sea rations. They got mad at us for setting it out for them. But, and quite often we would be resupplied.
Right.
And that's another point I mentioned in my book. The rounds came in bandoliers of 5 clips in a pouch, 100 rounds. But we had magazines. So we had to thumb them off.
Oh, really?
We had to pull them off the clip and thumb them into our magazine. And at least 2 times I can remember, I did this under fire. And I said, "Wait a minute, Charlie, hold it." He didn't wait. And your thumb...
Didn't hear you.
Yeah.
No, he didn't hear it. There's a lot of noise going on. And your thumbs get real sore when you
yeah.
do it.
I know.
But not to make too much humor out of tragedy.
But can you imagine though? Still,
I have written a series of short 1-pager stories called "Lighter Moments in the Vietnam War." Things that most people, except the guys that were there, would even know happened. Like one is rubber tree chewing gum. We leaned against a rubber tree. We pulled the sap off, the dried sap, and chewed it. Chewed it as gum. We didn't have any chewing gum with the PX tent. But and I had another one that the guys can relate to. In crossing a swamp, forget Charlie, kill the leeches.
Oh, okay. And this is a lot of stuff that you didn't hear about because a lot of people never. This is my first time hearing about some of these things.
Right. And then there was the other war we had in Vietnam, the war with the animals. I mean, we had tigers and elephants and million monkeys and baboons and with tails, without tails, and we had orders to kill. Oh, maybe I shouldn't tell this.
Oh no, go ahead.
We had orders to kill tigers and elephants. Tigers, I didn't need an order for that. But the enemy carried, an elephant could carry a ton of war supplies, and the enemy used them. And that's another short story I wrote, as the elephant and the machine gun. It's only a GI could miss a herd of elephants with a machine gun. But the door gunner, we were in a helicopter, Huey at the time, and we saw a herd out there, and he fired and fired and fired and couldn't hit him.
He wasn't big enough.
well,
But see, these are kind of things that I think a lot of people never, ever hear about.
Exactly.
Because this is, like I said, this is my first time hearing about it, and I can't tell you how many guys I've spoken to about things that happened in Vietnam and other places where things have happened. Never heard it.
Well, you see, you have to remember, a lot of our Vietnam vets, it's very painful for them, so they don't want to talk about it. But in your case, it's all, not that it wasn't painful for you, but you choose to find the humor. Humor is.
But he's also writing about something that I guess a lot just never comes up with a lot of people. But they're so busy thinking about all the other aspects of the war, all the other things that are happening to individuals that here's something that no one else has mentioned, or it's just something they forgot all about.
Well, humor is my purge. If I didn't have humor, especially when I think of incidents and after incident, and I do every day, like I said, I would cry or be keyed up.
Yeah.
Instead, think of something humorous that happened, and it did happen. I mean, we went into the local village of Phuc Vinh. We got a crummy 8 hours in Saigon, the big city, and things, little things happen. There was something nobody knows about except a very few people. Is the 1966 Boy Scout Jamboree in Saigon for Southeast Asian Boy Scouts. We're in Saigon for, like I said, 8 hours, and they're holding a Boy Scout Jamboree.
Mm-hmm.
The point of this that I put into my book is that there was an air crash that happened, which was the Skyhawks, Sky Raiders, flown by Arvin pilots, South Vietnamese, and they were doing stunts. They were doing an air show,
Right.
which was no more than what they do in a sortie. Come in and bomb, and one plane caught the roof of a long housing complex, like a town and country
Right.
type, and it just cartwheeled all the way over, and splattered and it blew up, things like this. But I was the voice of Veterans Corner for a radio program up in Leesburg,
Right.
and I did that for almost a year weekly, and I was a columnist for a Veterans magazine, and telling stories that, like you said, people had never heard of, except those who were there, guys have forgotten about it. I get an Amazon book, Amazon.com. There were comments made about my book, and they were very complimentary. I haven't heard anything bad about it. Anybody say bad,
Well, you know what? I think a lot of times when you mix humor and you mix things that, take a lighter side of something, or when you put things in that people really relate to, you're going to get a good review on something. And I don't think everyone looks at everything in a negative light. There's so many things out there that I think we look at as negatives. And it's funny because one person will look at something and they'll be totally negative about it, and someone else will look at it and say, you know what, hey, that's right on. That's the way to go with it. Because I was looking at Channel 13, and just to show you something that I said, oh boy, that's really going to be crazy. It's this thing now, and I shouldn't bring this up because I know it's going to be, but it's there. The thing with where President Obama was talking about the marijuana and alcohol, and saying he doesn't really think there's that much of a difference between people smoking marijuana and people drinking alcohol. So they had a poll, and they wanted to see what the results were going to be. And it's call in if you agree with him and don't agree with him. And then they had like a overwhelming amount of people who call in, and it was for the comments. They agreed with him, and I think it was a small amount of people who disagreed with him. And I was saying, I was shocked because I said, oh boy, this is going to be wild. But you never know how people are thinking.
Well, I won't do it. I don't drink anymore. I couldn't. I decided I can't be a half a Christian, and I have to stop drinking. And being from Baltimore, that's where my hometown is. That wasn't easy, but I never did the drugs. I'm also a screenwriter, by the way. I write movie scripts and on this, but my other books are young adult novel.
Alrighty. Well, we're going to have you tell us a little more about your other books, as soon as we come back from a break. So we're going to take a quick break. Again, this is called Bradfield, and he's a Vietnam vet and just telling us a little bit about what happened and how he found humor while fighting the war. His book, The Blue Spade of Vietnam. We'll be back.
I love my daddy.
My name is Cody Wyatt, and I'm a disabled American veteran. I joined the United States Army in 2002, and I served in Operation Iraqi Freedom from November of 2003 until November of 2004. I was diagnosed formally with post-traumatic stress disorder with generalized anxiety disorder. Kiowa helicopter was shot down in the middle of the city. Every day literally felt like a constant struggle to stay alive. One thing about the disabled American veterans that really stood out for me was the fact that they were so involved in the community.
They were able to help him get all the benefits that he deserved. And there's always another wife there that you can sit with, that you can talk to. My children are able to be involved in the junior auxiliary, and it has grown our family, definitely.
Whenever they make a promise, you know they're going to keep it.
Daddy, go! Daddy! Go!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rugged red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And we're back, and we're talking with Carl. And Carl has some more stuff that he's going to talk to us about. This is very interesting because, you know what? We try to get people who have been in the military and have done a lot of things. Carl is a very interesting individual because he's done quite a bit. He's been in combat, and here he is. He's made it. He's into, like I say, a lot of different things. Now, another thing Carl is into is he's got your
Screenwriting.
foot into the movie business, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Got my little toe in. I am a screenwriter. That's my main thing with the area. You know, the movie groups that I belong to, the filmmaker groups that I belong to here in Tampa. I don't want to mention them, but they know who I am. I was recently last month in Dolphin Tale 2. I was in the first Dolphin Tale as an extra, and after seeing the movie twice, I never did see myself. But this time, last month, just before Christmas, I was in Dolphin Tale 2 as a featured extra. That meant that they did a close-up on me.
Well, now you know I'm going to look for it and see if I see you in there.
So am I. I've been in other movies and sitcoms. One that never went over on MTV. A lot of short movies here in the Tampa area and Orlando. I've done a couple of music videos. I can't sing, but I can dance.
Okay.
Especially when somebody's after me. And I basically write young adult stories, books. Most of my scripts are family oriented. I did a little. I tried a drama, but that didn't go over. It still has humor in it.
Okay. Well, listen, let me ask you something. I know you said you're into Christianity, so are these Christian-based or are these just regular
Well,
novels?
they're regular features and short stories, but I have 3 Christian features that I've written.
Okay.
One of my and I've been out to Hollywood trying to pitching them.
Okay, then.
Almost made it, but almost doesn't count.
Yeah.
No.
Well, hey, listen, sometime almost gets you where you want to be sometimes.
Yes. Stories like "Where is my atomic bomb?" It's it's a comedy. It's a military versus civilian. I'll tell you the plug line, the log line. A military plane accidentally loses a nuke and drops it on their own general's mother's house, and he has to go. Without letting anybody know, especially the news media, he has to go and get it back from his mother, and she doesn't want to give it back because she thinks it's a UFO that fell out of the sky. Anyway, that's one. But I was also a martial arts instructor. I shouldn't bring it up. Retired.
Oh, okay.
Since 1962, I was an instructor since 1962, and in the Baltimore area, I taught for about 35 years.
Well, then, see, you've been into a little everything. So go ahead.
Okay, well, I've been in a lot of tournaments too. I met Bruce Lee. Out now, my instructor used to be Ed Parker. He's gone now.
Mm-hmm.
He is the one who introduced Bruce Lee to the world in 1966. I was preoccupied with the Viet Cong at that time, but I met Bruce Lee in his office in Pasadena. That's where his studio is. Still there. He's gone, but the studio is
It's
there.
still there, right?
Yeah, and I shouldn't just say that. I lost to a fella named Chuck Norris.
You know, and I was just about to ask you, did you ever? Okay.
Madam, I felt
Chuck
him.
Norris, yeah.
But I have an excuse for that.
Okay.
Because I was the first one up, and I didn't know that he was the champion the year before in '66. But when you're lined up, to go up and fight, you kind of look over and see who is this that I'm facing.
Right.
I don't know who
Chuck
he was.
Norris. And you know, he was on the back of my mind. I was going to ask you, had you ever met Chuck Norris? But I see you did meet him.
And yeah. And I know the screenwriter who did 2 of his movies, going back to Vietnam movies. I never took care for them. Missing in Action.
Right.
Okay.
And Jim Brenner, and his wife Elizabeth on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked to Jim. I talked to Jim more. I haven't talked to Chuck at all. We didn't even talk when we were fighting. No, when it was sparring. When we say fighting, it's competition fighting.
Right.
But I was glad because to go from the East Coast to the West Coast, pay the money to get in there and lose right off the bat. I was glad to at least had the conversation of seeing that he won.
Right.
Okay, he beat everybody else. Okay, but anyway, the martial arts thing is, and then I was in the judo. That's my first time in New York. That was back in '61.
Oh, okay.
Before my time.
I was still there
It was
as a kid.
it was a Shiite in those days, and anyway, but I was also a trucker. Had my own trucks. The biggest thing about that is I had a West Virginia runaway. If you know what a runaway is.
No, you got me.
A truck without brakes going down a mountain.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
all
okay.
right.
And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And,
So God was on your side.
God was on my side because it was rush hour coming up, the traffic coming up the mountain, 2-mile mountain. And I breezed into the town of 25 miles an hour at 95 miles an hour. And I was determined, I was thanking Lord am I going to plow into somebody or go over the side?
Mhm.
But fortunately, I didn't have to do that because the flat town of Compton Bridge, West Virginia, was flat, and I had a heavy load on, and I rolled to a stop in front of the only funeral home in town.
Wow. What a place to stop. I tell you.
That was one. That was the one of the times that I was determined to get out of trucking and get out of that area and move to Florida.
So you see, being
You
in
were
the
guided.
being in the military, how many jobs he had? He was a trucker. He's a screenplay writer.
Yeah.
He's a
Screenwriter, yes.
humorist.
But-
He's an author. I mean,
But you know what? Let me ask you something. One of the things that you have to say is that the military itself made a tremendous impact on everything you've done. Then.
I'd say Vietnam. I mean, firefights definitely stay with you forever.
oh yes.
But they
Oh, yes.
did. One thing that used to bug me after I came back, while I was over there, is the sergeants. I was an E4. As much as training, and I was in Korea before I went to Vietnam.
Right.
You know, yeah, the EMs, the privates, and the E4s, they basically do not like sergeants.
Yes.
But what got me is when we got over there, I found out they were right. Everything they told us, they're right.
Yeah. Well, listen. You know that's why they say the backbone of the military. Yes. Because that's the I would say I always say middle management, the guys who are responsible for everything. So you got to have those sergeants because these are the guys who know everything. They run the show.
Yeah.
They run the show.
Well, in Vietnam, that first year we went through 8 lieutenants. One guy lasted 5 hours with us.
Ooh.
The next guy, oh, you should have heard the captain say that. The platoon sergeant reported, he said, "I just sent you an LT." He said, "Where you going now?"
Now, just tell us a little, Carl. Where can we find your books? Should someone out there want to research your
Most of the online bookstores, Amazon Books, what's the other one? Barnes and Noble, Books A Million. They all have them.
Right.
So go out and give Carl your support by purchasing the book, The Blue State of Vietnam.
Yeah,
And look for the movie.
And look for the movie because, again, he had more than one job. But we want to thank you,
Yeah.
Carl, for coming out and sharing some of your painful experience through humor because we can't always bottle up the things that happen to us and some of our experiences. And as you know, a lot of our Vietnam vets do not want to talk about Vietnam at all. So I thank you for your service.
Well, thank you.
For what
And,
you've done, and welcome home.
Thank you.
You know, and the one thing, just like Denise was saying, so many guys get out there and you never talk to anyone about anything that happens. And Carl today shared with us some of the things that I've never heard of before. And I'm sure that you guys and young ladies out there have experiences that you need to share, that you probably need to open up to other people and let them know about what had happened and what you've gone through. Because you know what? Just holding it in isn't going to help you that much. You need to let it out, let other people know about it, and sometimes just think about the fact that all that pain and all that suffering, let it out. Share it with someone. Let the world know that, you're still alive and that, life is good. And sometimes just pray about some of the things that happen with you. And you'll realize that life, it goes on. And we're all a part of creation, and we all continue to march. Okay?
All righty. Oh, until next week, we want to thank everyone for listening to our show. We will have next week some more tax tips on what you can do to recoup some of your expenses that you have spent. Again, I want to thank Carl for coming out. Welcome home. Thanks for listening to us. And until next week, bye-bye.